it's global. And how can we get this going? And how can we start this dialogue, this healthy dialogue on what people working through platforms as a freelancer should earn? And that is where it started. And we had a couple of meetings, more than once, right, Pauline? More than one?
I can tell you, I think we had a couple of meetings, but in my case, because as Wage Indicator, we have that global concept of living wages. So we have some knowledge, but first we started to calculate the wages for platform workers in the Netherlands. That was the first step. Then we looked at the living wage. Then we looked at the minimum wage in the Netherlands. And then we said, well, it all doesn't function right. Then I went to the largest pay slip company in the Netherlands and said, well, I have an issue with Temper, and how can we solve that? And they said, well, what you want is not possible. This is very difficult, madam. And then I said, well, but if it's very difficult, then we can solve it because we as Wage Indicator have been solving more. So then that was when, then I went to a guy from Randstad, so to talk at length there. Then a guy from Visma Raad, then the people who work for our pay slips. And after all these talks, and the guy from the University of Amsterdam as well, after all these talks, we came up with a kind of a concept. And once the concept was there, we started negotiating, which is not easy because to negotiate, well, maybe for Niels that is easy, but for us, we don't think that it's our role to start to negotiate. But will I share some news? Will I share a bit of the concept?
Yeah. And I think good to mention is that the reason why we negotiate is that we do it for these people, those people that use Temper and earn on the side through the platform. And I mean, if we lower if we raise the lower bar too high, then it might be that we lose our competitive position and that people go to other platforms and nobody benefits from it.
True. And let me try to share. I can share the screen. Huh? Yep. I hope. Oh no. How does this looks like? Yeah. No, I can't share the screen. If I share this, sorry for this technical drama. Yeah. So this is the, can you all see this? Yeah.
Yes.
So I will go through it very, very quick.
A little bit small, and
yeah.
Pauline, could you zoom it out? Thanks.
And no. What is wise, not to look at the numbers, because the numbers relate to the Netherlands. And this is not about talking about numbers, but it's talking about an idea. The idea is you pick the minimum wage or the living wage. In the Netherlands, the living wage is below the minimum wage, so therefore we pick the minimum wage per hour. Voila, that's the 996. Then as a principle, we say anyone in the world, whether you live in Cote d'Ivoire or the Netherlands, you need to have a pension construction. So 20% pension, whatever, each time per hour, you get 20% pension. If you have a job where you need a computer or where you need a car or a bike or whatever, then we call that occupational cost related items. And then it needs to be added. This example, we didn't edit, but usually that is between 50 cents and €1.5. That depends a bit on the type of job. Disability insurance, we didn't include it, but you can include it. That depends from country to country, but it could be between 40 cents and 150 again, so that adds up. Now we said, well, we have only this, and then we come to 12 cents, 11. Well, then we do the calculation of 52 weeks times 40 hours times this hourly wage. And then we have a year annual. Then we assume 260 working days in a year. Then we say no, but from the 160 days a year, quite a lot of days you're not working. And what are you, so you effective working days are much less than the 260 working days. And why is that? Because now we talk in time. Above, we spoke in cash or in money. Here we talk in time. We say people around the world to have 25 days off is not so strange, especially not when you live in India where you have a hell of a lot of festival days. Risk of no work might be less when you're very young, but if you get older, it might be more problematic. Then sickness, we took the 8 days average sickness in the Netherlands. You can argue it could be 6 days or 4 days because these people are very young who work in the platform. But you also can say, well, they become older one day and then better to have the average. So then you go to 8. Commuting time, we skip that at this moment, but you might argue that in some occupations it's needed. So then you can add that. Train to stay employable. We said it's 9 days a year. Acquisition and communication, 11 days a year. Administration, 3 days. In total, it makes 82 days. Then you have 260 minus 82, it's 178 days a year that you work. And then you calculate the tariff, and that is, well, close to 80 euro. That was the principle. So the principle is basically pension, sickness, let's say training, acquisition, administration should be included in that living tariff. Otherwise, you never can survive. So to start from a minimum wage is never an option. You should have minimum wage plus all the rest. Otherwise, you don't come to a reasonable living tariff. That's the principle. Together with Temper, we came quite far in the idea. And now you, please ask your questions.
I was wondering, because at Temper you said, right, that you already made the transition from 13 to 14 euros. You were talking about the consideration that you needed to have to keep the competitiveness. So did you see, what did you see happen basically from going from 13 to 14 euros? Or is it still too new to say?
Oh, that's a great question, actually, Emily. So we actually seen that the clients, so the restaurants and the clients that were posting jobs for 13 or 13.50 actually started posting more jobs for higher hourly rates. So it was different than we expected. So we did a sensitivity analysis just as we've done with the 14 to 15 raise, but it turned out even better than we expected. So more money being made by the workers and more jobs being done.
So it actually increased the competitiveness in some sense.
Yeah, absolutely. But that might have to do with the hourly rates going up, right? Because it's a very tight labor market and there's more work than there are people that are willing to work. We see something different, by the way. So for every position that's out there, every hospitality position, 8 applications come in.
Yeah.
So it's getting more interesting to work through platforms such as Temper, which also boosts the hourly rates.
Okay.
And that is in the Netherlands, huh?
Yeah,
can
exactly,
I ask a question to Olivia? Do you think that such a concept, let's say such a principle, would work in other countries?
I don't know, but I'm really interested to hear that actually the restaurants started putting their own price up, because there's a lot of talk about race to the bottom. So I'm really interested in that. That should definitely be tested and tried out in other places, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. But we are about to. So we're not only in the Netherlands, but also abroad. So we're expanding very soon.
And yeah.
Yeah, so it's just very interesting. I saw at the calculation that you put on the minimum hour wages, but I don't see here the health insurance. I mean, so at least it should also be calculated, or Depends on the point of view. Are you on the point of view for the employers or the employees? So that makes a difference, because you know, on the point of employee, we want to get as many benefits for the workers as possible, but for the from employers' part, you want to keep the competitiveness. So yeah, so what you bear in mind here, from which point of which side are you in, and whether you calculate that the minimum living the minimum what you calculate here would be in order for the employees to work only on as a freelancers, or you bear in mind that they would work somewhere else as an employee and then work for you like a temporary as employer. So that's also makes a difference.
Let me ask Niels, what do you think? Maybe we forgot that we need to add that still. What do you think? Niels. I think Niels is frozen.
Yes, he's frozen. So health insurance is really, really important in my point of view. If you can also calculate, you know, if you lost insurance, that you lost the job, or you don't have a job, or you know, health elderly care or something like that. That is something extra. But basically, the health insurance would be like very basic.
Niels, you're back, huh?
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, so this is interesting, because now, obviously, as soon as you have a concept, then people want to talk in more topics. And in this case, health insurance, what do you think of it? Should you have it, and how do you want to have it?
I think everyone should have it. And here in the Netherlands, it's all arranged pretty nicely. So everybody pays for his health insurance. So no exclusions. Mm-hmm. It should be there. Disability insurance should be there as well.
Yeah.
That's my take from the hip.
Yeah. So that is what you can do. On the other side, Jen was also mentioning, let's say, unemployment. And unemployment, as you have seen in the example, is being taken with 26 days over a year. So then it means that your hourly tariff becomes higher, and then all the days which you might have no work are included because of that. So that's then the trick. If you also add health insurance, possible, but then you get, let's say, more ineffective days, or so less effective days on a year, and your hourly rate is going up. That's the whole, and that's it. That's the balance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, well, I'm really open to suggestions, right? I mean, if we can improve this any further, please let us know. Yeah,
health insurance, I go and check in it because I know that in our discussions on global level on related to living wages, health insurance pops up each time as well, as that it should be better included into the basic, or let's say in the minimum, because otherwise, well, if somebody gets sick, can't go to a hospital, can't go to a doctor. So there should be a kind of a guaranteed insurance, and that should be included in the minimum, let's say, the minimum tariff. So that's,
absolutely. Yeah. So I'm really happy with the European Commission and the directive on platform work. So that enables us as a platform to provide social security without leading it to reclassification, so they can stay freelancer, and we can as a platform pay for collective insurance for 27 cents an hour. Yeah, which we will, which is a sneak peek, but we will announce it later next month. So it's pretty exciting.
Let me, in the same time, because it looks like the people want to go here or not.
Yeah, I also need to go. Actually, I have a 4 o'clock appointment. I hope
you have to go. Then
I have to go.
And it is, so we have formally another, let's say, couple of minutes, which we can talk. If you hear this, Niels, can we continue after let's say from Monday onwards, improving the concept and present it outside?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're on the right track, and this is the first step, and then many more to come, right?
Yes, and if you hear the presentation from Fair Work, then basically they're not yet that far.
No.
They say living wage is an issue, and the issue, how should we solve it? And here we can say, well, we solved it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so let's keep our eyes on the opportunities, right?
Okay, so then we talk Monday, and I would like to discuss because I see that we have Anna in the room as well, and I would like to test the concept with Anna as well. Anna,
that's great.
Are you there?
But I'm gonna leave.
Yeah,
now.
you
Leave.
I will stay in this room. Thanks a lot, Niels,
yeah, you too.
For attending.
Bye, everybody.
Very good. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. And Anna, are you there? I can't hear you. And let me see if we can fix connections for you. No, I can't hear you. Can you try? Because while you were presenting, we could hear you perfectly. No. And another question for Hien. Hien, do you think this will work in Vietnam?
Yeah, it's a great idea. I mean, I totally agree, because in Vietnam, it's health insurance is not mandatory. So if you don't include it, then the worker is in disadvantaged side. And I think the best is to put health insurance on the basic minimum, I agree with you, because it's easy to argue. Yeah.
And if you look at the concept, then then you say, well, you have let's say the minimum wage, or you have the living wage. And the living wage, basically you do it almost double. And so from 10, you make almost 20, or let's say between 15 and 20. And that seems to be what I understand from all these payslip people. That seems to be a reasonable rule of thumb to come to a living tariff. And since it's so much debate about it each time, that each occupation is different, each country is different, we said, well, we can make kind of a solid system which can be used everywhere as a principle. So
that's right.
That was the idea. And let's see. In the meantime, no, Anna's not coming back. No. I don't think so. So then this was an easy room, huh?
But it's really interesting. That's what you come up with. I mean, the idea is really nice.
It's simple, eh?
Yeah.
And,
Pauline, do you know where they plan on expanding? Because he said that they are now in the Netherlands, but they plan on expanding elsewhere. Do you know? UK, okay.
UK. Then they want to go to the UK, and the principle as what we developed. We are talking now with the German government, because they're very keen to see how it can be further developed.
Yeah,
it's really in this infant stage is maybe too early, but it's really a start of thinking, and now that's why we now said, well, we should bring it in the open so that more people can look at it, what it is, and they, of course, they can shoot on it if